Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, it's time to get to a book that is every fan favorite. I don't know of a single person who's read this book and says it sucked. Of course, you all know what I'm talking about. You've known for a couple of weeks this is coming up. So let's go ahead and talk about James Luceno's masterpiece called Darth Plagueis. Now, if you don't know who that is, he was mentioned in episode 3, Darth Plagueis the Wise. This is basically his story. Luceno pitched this as a kind of Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles thing, like they're someone telling the story of Darth Plagueis to someone else and recounting the tales that way. Thankfully, it evolved into something much greater than that. And George Lucas had a lot of influence in the story. In fact, he named the species for Darth Plagueis, which is a moon. Also, George was very concerned about this book because he felt that it revealed a little too much about the Sith. So for that reason, he put Howard Rothman, the CEO of Lucas Licensing, personally in charge of overseeing that book, that whole project. So James Luceno had to turn in scripts to Howard Rothman, the CEO of Lucas Licensing. Come on, tell me again that George didn't care about the EU. I dare you. Because here is another perfect example where George cared a lot. Why would he care about this story if it wasn't canon? I don't know. Yub Nub, do you know? No, he doesn't know. In fact, he's stunned. He's in silence. He didn't even know why people say that. Anyway, but yeah, George got very concerned this book would reveal a little too much, so he put Howard Rothman in charge to make sure everything fit well and didn't go against the grain. I felt that it was just a great novel. Of course I knew it was a great novel. Everyone thinks it's a great novel, right? But let's go into why it is a great novel. That's one thing I want to talk about because I don't hear that talked about too much. Why it's a great novel is because James Luceno masterfully weaves in continuity flawlessly in this book. All of the stories, basically, that have taken place before this novel, minus Lockdown, but of course, as I said a few weeks ago, Joe Schreiber made up for that by connecting Plagueis to the story. So it doesn't mention Lockdown, but every other book, comic series, it mentions some of the comic series, Jedi Council Art of War, and a bunch of other short stories too. He basically connects just everything he can. It is the perfect primer for episode 1. In fact, I refer to this book as the prequel book to episode 1 because I think it has everything. If you've been reading chronologically, like I've told you to, then this book should be the next leap into that episode 1 novel. Yeah, you can read it earlier because chronologically it would take place a long time ago, you know, even before the Jedi Apprentice novels. But I like to put this in the chronology right before episode 1 because it is the perfect springboard into that storyline. In fact, it talks a little bit about episode 1 in the final chapters because Plagueis is still around. It's fantastic. You get to see a lot of Sidious, a lot of Plagueis. These are two great characters. So James Luceno doesn't have to put that much effort into it, but he does, and these characters are awesome to read about. In fact, in my opinion, this is the best book on the Sith. Now, I know some people are going to disagree and say that Darth Bane was, and yes, you have valid arguments, because I love all 3 of the Darth Bane novels. I think they're all 3 excellent. You could say the Revan novel too, because I thought it was good as well, but I think Plagueis, in my opinion, is the best the Sith ever got written in. And kudos to James Luceno for doing that. In fact, this is probably his best book he's ever written and will ever write, maybe, in my opinion. But Plagueis is a great novel, well worth your time for those reasons. Like I said, just all the connections, all the influence, it will make you want to go back and watch episode 1. Like after reading that book, I watched the movie again. And you're just going to go in, whoa. Because another thing that I kept saying is the EU enriched the movies, didn't they? They gave them more depth, more meaning. I watch episode 1 with a total new set of eyes now that I've read Darth Plagueis. And I think a lot of other people have as well, and that's one of the reasons you love that book so much. It makes Episode 1 a better movie, doesn't it? It does. Alright folks, well, I'm done glowing about it, and we'll be back with another video next week.